post over there 3 times a week. On Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I also have a true crime playlist over there from before I opened this channel. So if you're interested and you want to see me 5 times a week, go check it out. Okay. So tonight we will be traveling to Georgia. Shout out to all my friends in Georgia. This is the very, very disturbing case of Laken Riley. It is extremely current. I suppose you could say it is still a developing story. And I want to preface this case by acknowledging that this is a hot political topic right now. This case is being used as a political topic, and I assure you that I am not trying to push any particular agenda during this video. In fact, I hope that by the end you don't even know what my political feelings are, okay? That is how unpolitical I am going to be keeping it, okay? Alright. So here we go. Laken Riley was born in Marietta, Georgia, to Allison Phillips and William Jason Riley on January 10th, 2002. She had 2 sisters and a brother. Laken was an amazing daughter, sister, and friend. Her smile was infectious and she spread joy everywhere she went. She graduated in 2020 from River Ridge High School in Woodstock, which is a suburb of Atlanta, Georgia. And she ran cross country on her high school team. Laken was devoted to her religion. She was always involved with Woodstock City Church and Watkinsville First Baptist Church. She loved spreading God's word, and she often attended mission trips sponsored by the church. After she graduated from high school, Laken went on to attend the University of Georgia. While she was there, she came to realize that she had a deep love for caring for others, and she wanted to pursue a career in nursing. So there was another school in the same town as the University of Georgia where she was in Athens, which had a nursing program. It was the Augusta Medical College. So she began attending there in the spring of 2023, so just a year ago. She switched from the University of Georgia to Augusta Medical College. And she was doing exceptionally well in school. She had made it to the dean's list. While she was at the University of Georgia, she had joined the AXO sorority, and she loved all of her sisters there, and they loved her. She was a very active member, and everyone knew her as being extremely kind-hearted. Now, in addition to her school, she also had a job as a nanny to 2 young children, and she was said to have been extraordinarily caring and attentive was early in the morning, and Laken told her roommate she was going for a jog, as she often did because she was on the cross-country team. So she was going for a morning run at the University of Georgia's intramural fields. So it was the fields of the college that she had previously attended, and they were in the same town, like I mentioned before. So when Laken did not return after a few hours, her roommate got concerned, and she called the police at around noon. About 40 minutes after the police had been called, they had already found Laken. She was in a forested area near Lake Herrick that includes trails that are popular with runners and walkers. So if you see in the map that I am putting up, there is the intramural field, then there is a lake, and then behind the lake there is a wooded area with trails that oftentimes people would run through there. I suppose it was more scenic than just going on, a regular running track. Maybe there was more shade, whatever it was. That is where she obviously had been running at the time that the search party found her. She was unconscious, she was not breathing, and she had visible injuries, and it was determined that sadly she was no longer living. An autopsy showed that she had died due to blunt force trauma to her head. And it didn't take investigators very long to find their prime suspect because they had video surveillance, and they came to realize that the person they were looking for was Jose Ibarra. So let's stop for a moment and talk about Jose Ibarra. For starters, he has no connection to Laken Riley. Okay, so he wasn't out looking for her. It was said to be a crime of opportunity. Okay, so Jose is a 26-year-old Venezuelan migrant who first entered the U.S. on September 8th, 2022. He was encountered on that day by the U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials after he crossed into the U.S. at the southern border with Mexico near El Paso, Texas. Now, according to officials, he was, quote, paroled and released for further processing. And at that point, he headed to New York City with his wife and young child. Now, according to an immigration lawyer who I heard speak on this, now she is not connected to the case at all, she was just giving her knowledge, okay? She said that at that time, maybe still, I don't know, but at that time, Venezuelans had special protection status because their country was unsafe to return to. So they were allowed to stay temporarily due to the danger in their country. So, while he was living in New York City, in August of 2023, he was arrested by the NYPD after he was caught driving a moped with a 5-year-old on the back while he was making food deliveries. And I guess the problem was that neither of them were wearing a helmet, and so he was charged with reckless endangerment of a child obviously is also from Venezuela, and he came to the US shortly after Jose. Now, immigration officers reported that Diego Ibarra crossed the border into Texas in 2023, and he claimed asylum. In an arrest affidavit, the officer wrote, quote, "Due to a finding of credible fear, Diego Ibarra was released to New York, New York, pending adjudication of his claim for asylum," end quote. Now, reportedly, Diego has the tattoos, uses the hand signs in social media, and wears the attire of a Venezuelan gang in New York City, which is responsible for a string of phone robberies where gang members on mopeds would snatch the phones out of people's hands and speed off on the moped, sometimes dragging the person behind them. Now, for some reason, Diego decided to move from New York City to Athens, Georgia, and that was in September of 2023. In that month, when he first got to Georgia, he was arrested and charged with a DUI without a license. Then, when his brother moved in with him, in October, the two of them were caught shoplifting from a Walmart in Georgia. They had stolen food and clothing, and they were given a citation and let go. Then Diego was arrested again in December for failure to appear for a fingerprintable offense. I think that has to do with him not appearing for the DUI offense. Now, Diego was actually working for the University of Georgia in Athens, and he was living right outside the campus in an apartment, which is where Jose was living as well with him. So he was working as a campus dishwasher in one of their dining halls, and a spokesperson for the university said that Diego gave them a fake green card to get the job, but since he never submitted the correct documents to keep the job, he was never paid. So I find that a little odd. I'm not sure what they're saying. So he didn't have all of the right paperwork, so he can work there, but they're not going to pay him for his work. It's a little weird, but that's what it says. Now let's get back to where we were before I stopped to talk about Jose and Diego Ibarra. We are in February of 2024 at this point in the case, and both of these brothers are in the Athens-Clarke County Jail with no bond. So Jose Ibarra was charged on February 23rd, so the day after Laken was murdered. He was charged with malice murder, felony murder, aggravated battery, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, kidnapping, obstructing an emergency call, and concealing the death of another. The arrest affidavits explain some of the details. According to these affidavits, Ibarra had disfigured her skull in support of the aggravated battery charge. He had used an object to harm her and dragged her body to a secluded area. He had also allegedly physically hindered her from making a 911 call, according to the affidavit. Apparently, during the murder, she had called 911, Jose, they found him walking along the street there, and they thought that he was Jose because they look a little similar. But Diego Ibarra presented the officer with his green card, which they realized was a fake. Now, Georgia Congressman Mike Collins authored the Laken-Riley Act immediately. It's a bill that requires federal authorities to detain undocumented immigrants charged with theft in the U.S. And the university where Laken was killed, the University of Georgia in Athens, has announced a $7.3 million security upgrade being planned on the campus, including more lighting, call boxes, and a boost in the campus security staffing. And that is the case. What are your thoughts? I will share some of mine. First of all, rest in peace to Laken Riley. She was only 22 years old, and this one really hits home to me because you may or may not know I have twins myself, and they are the same age as Laken, in the same phase of life. And this is so absolutely horrific to me. Laken was just starting out in life. She was heading towards a very bright future. She was loved by so many people, and she was on the path to help so many people in the future with her nursing degree that she was getting. My heart aches for her parents, her siblings, her family, and her friends. Such a senseless tragedy. Now, like I said before, I'm not going to discuss any of the politics here. There is certainly plenty of blame to go around here, but I'm sure we can all agree that Laken holds none of the blame. And I must say that although everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, it is my opinion that Jose Ibarra is responsible for this crime. Now, we don't really know exactly what happened here. We don't exactly know the motive, although most people feel pretty confident that this was a sexually motivated crime and a crime of opportunity. So most people believe that he was somehow lurking around in that forested area, or maybe he was just walking through it on his way home when he spotted Laken and decided that he wanted to do things, and he attacked and killed her in the process, or killed her afterwards so she wouldn't tell anyone. That seems like the most popular assumption of how it went down, and that it was sexually motivated. But here is the problem. There is no charge of SA. If you remember all the charges I read, none of them were SA. So how can that be explained? Another less popular theory is that he saw her there in that forest which point he acted impulsively, thinking she's gonna report me for whatever, and I'm gonna get deported for being illegal, and I have these, crimes that I have committed, and just snapped and killed her. No essay involved. Now, of course, that would be a very, very foolish thing to do, obviously, because the charge of murder is getting him in a lot more trouble than what he would get into from her calling and him being found as an illegal immigrant. If you're following what I'm saying. So, I'm not sure. The fact that there is no charge for essay is what is making this a little confusing. Also, the fact that he has no known violent crimes in his background. How does he go from shoplifting and driving